Okay.
So
Yeah. Go for it.
when I joined Superside, wasn't even like I didn't see that much potential on Meta, but that's our biggest channel. We compare lookalike targeting versus primer targeting. We can see a 28.9% increase in the share of conversions coming from the segment that we care about the most. We had a reduction in cost for enterprise conversions of 43.2%, which is again really, really good. We had a reduction in cost for enterprise conversions of 43.2%, which is again really, really good. And so last year we had a major change in our strategy, and this change put enterprise companies as our main targets. And the reason for that is that company size is a major LTV proxy for us. So Superside is not a cheap solution. We are a subscription service and leads from 1 to 50 employees. Companies tend to consider our pricing beyond their budgets, and that's usually a blocker for leads that are small. And when we consider the LTV breakdown by segments, micro companies versus SMB versus mid-market, which we consider 200 employees to 1,000 employees, and then enterprise, which is starting at 1,000 employees, we are looking at significant LTV jumps when we look at different segments. At the end of 2024, we started having a major focus on enterprise conversions, and we're having some difficult reaching out to these people on paid social channels. Like, it's not obvious to go after a creative director that works for an enterprise company in US if you are running ads on Facebook and Instagram. As I said, Meta does offer some targeting options. They are just not that accurate. So we are looking for ways to increase the share of conversions for enterprise segments. And here at Superside, every time we talk about performance, we'll always look at overall numbers and enterprise numbers. So every time we're reporting anything, demos booked for last week or registries for our last summit, we are always going to have overall numbers and then enterprise numbers because they are our biggest focus. So when we had this change last year, I remember I had searched for a few partners in the past. So I thought that Primer could be a good option for that. And I reached out to you and asked for a trial. Our idea for the trial was to understand if Primer could deliver a lead quality that was greater than the one that we are having with lookalikes or ASCs or Advantage Plus or any native option from Meta. The way to understand that is to evaluate share of conversions coming from the segment that we care about the most. So share of enterprise conversions for lookalikes versus the one that we have from Primer, and also cost for this conversions, because we often have like much cheaper cost per conversion when we are using lookalikes or ESCs. But if we consider the cost per enterprise conversion, so if we consider total budget versus total amount of enterprise conversions, cost for lookalikes can be expensive, even though overall cost per conversion is cheap. So looking at the conversion that we care about the most, lookalikes usually didn't deliver a very solid performance. So that's when we thought that Primer could be a good partner for that. And we did run a test, and results showed a significant improvement on the share of quality conversions. And by quality, I mean enterprise conversions and cost for these conversions. I think it was Jan that we signed our contract, like we started the partnership, and results have been really good. So as I said, like we have two big strategies here at Superside. We have bottom of funnel campaigns, and for bottom of funnel campaigns, our conversion is a demo being booked. So a lead going to the website, filling out our form. We have a qualification process. So depending on the answers, we might prevent the lead from booking a demo. And then we have a thank you page that says that we're going to reach out to them. But if they are not auto disqualified, we allow them to book a demo using a Chili Piper model. And we have bottom of funnel conversions, and for bottom of funnel conversions, we have the conversion event being the demo booked event, and we also have top of funnel campaigns. And for these top of funnel campaigns, we promote guides, reports, and virtual events, so summits and webinars. And conversion for top of funnel campaigns is also a form, and once people fill out the form, they're going to fire the conversion for the top of funnel campaigns. So giving this context to share a few numbers that I pulled out earlier this week. So, for example, when we look at top of funnel campaigns, so I'm using as an example a recent campaign that we used to promote our webinar. When we compare lookalike targeting versus primer targeting, we can see a 28.9% increase in the share of conversions coming from the segment that we care about the most. So enterprise conversions, quality conversions. There's a significant increase in the share of conversions coming from audience ad sets that use primer targeting. And when you look at cost for this we had a reduction in cost for enterprise conversions of 43.2%, which is again really, really good. And regarding the anti-ICP audiences, so for the last webinar that we ran, we were using the anti-ICP audiences for a lookalike, and for the webinar before this one, we didn't have this feature yet. So comparing the share of enterprise registrants for both campaigns, we could notice a 40.8% increase in the share of the enterprise conversions when we use the anti-ICP versus not using that, which is great. For bottom of funnel, so here looking at results for year to date. Let me just double check what I think it's year to date. Yeah, so when we look at all the sales qualified leads that we got from Primer versus all sales qualified leads that we got from other native targeting options from Meta, and we compare the share of enterprise sale qualified leads for both campaigns. Primer campaign delivered a improvement in the share of enterprise conversions of 37.2%. So share of enterprise sales qualified leads for primer audiences is 37.2% greater than the share that we get for these conversions when we use native targeting options. So really good number.
When did or why did you initially start using Meta in the first place? I feel like a lot of B2B marketers tend to steer away from it.
Good question. And it's when I joined Superside, Meta was already a very relevant channel. It's even more relevant now. So we did scale up the channel, but it was already a channel being used when I joined Superside. I can ask around internally and see like what was the thought behind that, because yeah, for B2B is not the first platform that comes in mind when we think of advertising. When I joined Superside, I wasn't even like I didn't see that much potential on Meta, but that's our biggest channel today.
Wow. So it's your biggest inbound channel. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm curious, when it comes to your audience strategy, are you doing anything with your first party data in Primer? Is it all kind of ICP based audiences, like using Primer's filters?
Yeah, everything is ICP based using Prime filter. I know that we have like other options, but today we are mostly relying on Primer's data sources for building audiences with our ICP.
Do you see your marketing efforts growing or changing as a result of Primer in the future?
Yes, they do. So we are aiming to have a strategy that's more tailored towards our different buyer personas. We are a creative solution. Today, our targeting strategy is quite broad, still within our ICP, but broad. Today, our strategy as a whole, our ads, our landing pages, they cover broader pain points of marketers and creative people. So bottlenecks of creative teams and creative teams having to do more with less resources, and marketers having to deliver campaigns like overnight and things like that. So today it's a bit broad, even though like we are still talking to our ICP, but it's a broader strategy. So moving forward, we are planning to try a more tailored structure that we can now actually tailor ads to our different buyer personas. So an audience and ad and a landing page that focus on growth marketers, and an audience that speaks directly to enterprise CMOs, and another campaign or ads ad that speaks directly with brand designers or creative directors and so on. So today our strategy is a bit broader, and it works. Like it's possible to have pain points that are shared between marketers and creative people. They are not that different. Like there are different pain points, but we can talk about like general pain points that make sense for all of them. So moving forward, as we continue having like better match rates and access to more data sources, it will be possible for us to move to a structure where we actually have a targeting strategy that's tailored to our different buyer personas, because like it makes more sense to us to have like everything consolidated, because if we break it down by 5 or 6 different buyer personas, final sizes on Meta might not, they won't be that big. But as we keep having better match rates and higher volumes in the audiences, this is going to be possible.
You mentioned sort of audience size, right? Any tips or advice you have like around getting the most value out of primer audiences in Meta?
So I recommend starting broader and then understanding like what parameters you should be a bit more aggressive with. So when we started testing, we started with a broader audience, like basically anyone with job titles in marketing or a creative related job title in any industry in the US for an enterprise company. And then we started moving towards audiences that are a bit more specific and possibly testing audiences. We did run a small test for that in the past. It's something that we might run a test again, but a landing page and ads focused on fintechs, talking about how Superside can be a great creative partner for financials companies, and something that's in the past, like we might test it again today. So I would suggest like start with a broader strategy and then you can move forward towards something a bit more specific. And today Meta offers the possibility of you, let's say that I have an audience that's a broader marketing audience, and then I have a smaller audience that's more valuable, which is CMOs and VPO marketing. So I have this big broader audience and I have this smaller, more specific one. You can run both of them in the same ad set, and Meta allows you to add a bid multiplier, so you can tell the algorithm that we should give a bigger priority to the more specific audience, even though the whole audience is our target. If you have like a broader one and more specific ones, you can tell the algorithm that the audience A, for example, is the one with the biggest priority. So that's also something that I would recommend.
That's a great piece of advice. Is there anything else in your Meta setup that you do, like, server side, conversion API, any other sort of tips to getting the most out of Meta?
Yeah, no, it's super important to have like a redundant conversion. So the conversion happening both ways. So it's server side, and also our conversion happens via browser and also via conversion API. So definitely recommend that. We experiment a lot with conversion value as well. So for B2B marketers, I would recommend like understanding the parameter that you have at the moment of conversion. So when leads are filling a form, like what parameter you can use in order to understand the value of the lead at the demo booked stage, because Meta sees the conversions as equal even though they're not. There should be there should be significant difference in the values for each conversions based on some parameter. Like for us today, company size is a good proxy of performance. So understand the parameter that you have at the moment of conversions to use that to calculate a value for your conversion. And based on that, you can play with volume versus value based biddings for your campaigns. We experiment with both today. So we do have a few rules that can help us understand if a conversion has a value of $10 or $1,000, and you can play with the values as well to understand like the difference in ROAS between strategies that are based on value versus strategies that are based on volume. Oftentimes, like when you are working with audiences that are specific and very premium audiences, like the ones that we have with primary, the volume strategy is usually good enough, but it still makes sense to experiment with the value approach.
How big would you say your addressable market is, roughly speaking?
Not that big, like it's limited, because as I said, like we mainly, like our ICPs mainly marketers and creative people working for companies with at least 1,000 employees in the US. This is our ICP, like the most. So it's, don't have a number for that, but I understand it's quite limited.
And in speaking of volume, are you able to get out of learning mode, the 50 conversions per ad set every 7 days? And yeah.
No, it's perfectly doable for us.
Cool. That's great.
And something also that's super important, that when we are talking about like before we signed the contract, we were talking about like the fact that the subscription was yearly, and I was like, I'm not sure that this is gonna work for the full year because it's a limited audience, so we might saturate like in 4 months or 6 months.
Fatigue. right? Yeah,
Yeah,
audience
it's
fatigue.
not happening. But the main reason for that is that we are having a lot of diversity in our creatives today. So we are running several different things. So we are going for static ads, motion ads, UGC stuff, partnerships with influencers, content creators, which are delivering very good results. So when we are reaching out to an audience that's valuable but limited, it's important to make sure that you have different ads running at the
Yep.
same time. And it's very different than having like one ad delivering 40% of our conversions for the last 2 weeks. This is good, but at the same time, ad fatigue happens super fast, and you have like single ads being responsible for the biggest part of your impressions and your conversions. So making sure that you have a few static ads, few motion ads, UGC stuff, content creators promoting your company as well. So diversifying your set of creatives is really important to make sure that limited audiences keep performing even after a longer period.
Totally. That's such a great piece of advice. Yeah. Uh, speaking of which, are there any tools or ways, how do you produce that much creative, right, at that frequency? And more broadly, are there any other tools that you like to use as well that you'd recommend to others?
I recommend Superside.
Yeah, totally. Let's plug Superside.
Superside uses Supersize. We have an amazing marketing team, and we have a team of dedicated creative people for marketing, but we also have access to Supersides. You can say that Superside uses Superside. Like we have a team of designers and motion people and everyone. And they are all AI experts. Don't understand exactly what they're doing, but they are our creative output is crazy. Like it's usually tell the creative team that they are giving us a good problem, which is too many ads to publish at the same time. Like some weeks I'm like, I won't be able to publish everything. I don't think it makes sense for us to publish everything right now because I want to make sure to explore the full potential of each ad. So I usually tell them that in some weeks they're giving us a good problem because too many ads at the same time. Don't know what they're doing, but they are doing some magic. They are AI experts. Everything's we started seeing AI delivering like good results for creative. They are on top of that, making sure that every possible tool is being used at its full potentials. I recommend Superside like for that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I don't know many marketers who have that problem. It's normally the opposite. That's rad.
And we
Yeah.
sometimes have people asking like who we use for our ads in our ads comments, and like we I'm not sure we did that, but we talked about like making an ad for that because I don't remember which ad, but it was a really good one, and we started seeing like comments like give the marketing team a raise and who is responsible for Superside's marketing, and we are like Superside is responsible for.
It could be a fun little, a little campaign. Or I like that. Just a couple last questions. I'm curious, how do you describe Primer to other marketers?
The first thing I say when I'm talking to primary that primary is our partner for targeting. I think, as I said, like a big problem when you want to promote a B2B thing on paid social channels is that it's hard to find people based on B2B parameters on social channels. Primer can be a great way to deal with that, and that's how we have been dealing with that with really good results. It might be not that intuitive that Instagram is a great acquisition channel for B2B. Like I wouldn't say that before Superside or Facebook. Doesn't sound like a good channel to bring valuable B2B conversions. Like it's not the first thing that would come to your mind if you had to name I would say LinkedIn ads, like first thing that comes to my mind. But for a lot of companies, it can be a good source for good leads as long as they have the right targeting capabilities. And that's something that we have been unlocking with Primer.
Love hearing that. Are there any other channels you guys are excited to explore?
We are going to start running ads on TikTok in 2026. We did run a few tests on TikTok in the past. Results were okay, but not as good as the results we had with Meta. So we paused everything there. But we want to test TikTok again. And I was talking to our growth director today about that. when we think of running a test campaign on TikTok ads, the first thing that comes to mind is primary audiences. I know that I know that we don't have like a native integration at the moment. Don't think we have, but I know it's possible to send audience there. So first tasks would be primary audiences on TikTok.
Rates are like, I think at the high end, in our initial testing, we've been able to get 40 to 50%, but it's normally it's like 19 to 30, like 20 to 30 is what we're seeing for most. So it's doable, and that's without us really optimizing much yet. So it'll only get better.
Cool. And I did notice an increase on match rates for Meta. Like yesterday, I was looking at
Yeah,
yeah, they're looking better. They are looking better than before. Like some audiences were reaching 70%, 80%.
we did a big database refresh that we just released a couple weeks ago. So I'm glad you noticed that. That's awesome. It's on that note, are there any specific functionalities or improvements you'd like to see from Primer? Obviously, more higher match rate.
Yeah, like higher match rates and even more data sources. Like I don't know how this is being planned for 2026. As it's impossible not to have some drops when you talk about like match rates, building the audiences, sending them to Meta, and then actually reaching out to these people. Like we won't be able to reach 100%, 100% of the people that we found profiles for. But considering these few drops that are gonna happen no matter what, it's important that at the beginning audiences are as big as possible, still within the ICP. So yeah, that and excited to test de-anonymization for website traffic. We haven't tested that before, so excited to see how it goes. I think we should explore more like Salesforce functionalities because I don't even think we have a Salesforce sync at the moment because it could be used for like pipeline acceleration, for example, which is something that we don't currently do on Facebook. We do around like one-to-one campaigns in other channels, but we are not doing that on Meta right now.
There's pipeline acceleration, sort of nurture, and then the other area where we're seeing more usage is cross-sell, kind of upsell as well. So like activation as well through ads.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we definitely need
yeah.
to keep exploring that. We haven't explored it that much.
It's all about the NDR, increasing that LTV. Yeah. Last question. Any advice that you would give to other companies considering a similar solution?
So it's like put it to test versus your current targeting strategies. Like it might make sense for you, maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe like your ICP, yeah, the targeting capabilities from Meta cover your ICP. If you are a B2B marketer, I doubt that, but if it works, it works. So the approach that I have for everything is test it and see how it goes. Like understand what metrics you should care about the most at the conversion moment because we have a long sales cycle. So we have the conversions and we have a few weeks until they actually move down, they start moving down our sales funnel. Like we have a call being booked, call completed, SAL, SQL, closed, won, lost. So it's a long sales process. So it's important to understand like the things that you have at the moment of your conversion that can help you to predict how good or how bad that lead is. So understanding that is key for you to be able to solutions like Primer and understand like if they are a fit. They were for us and they have been over the past month. So highly recommend a test.
Did you find that our trial was sufficient to test?
It was great. Like not sure how if it's like your official trial or how your trial looks like right now, but for us it was perfect to understand. I feel it made sense for us from a ROAS perspective.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks, Marcus. Really appreciate it.